Hello ladies and gentlemen, teachers and parents, and welcome to this 6th edition of the podcast. I wanted to begin by welcoming those new listeners and introduce myself briefly. I'm a teacher at the school here and I teach HP and junior maths, and I saw some benefit in producing this monthly podcast on current issues happening in and around the school. Now in today's episode, I'd like to speak about an issue which is fairly serious, and that being drugs and alcohol use, abuse and dependency, and I suppose how it affects teaching and learning. Now to begin with, I can see your brains ticking over thinking, how could this be an issue at our school? Or how could children of this age group, 11 to 15, be dealing with such issues? You may not have dealt with this yourself, but let me just highlight a few points of relevance on the matter. I have collected the following stats from the Australian Institute of Health and Welfare, and you can find a link to this in the show notes if you'd like to look into these a bit further. Now here we go. Almost 1 in 5 people aged 14 or older consume more than 2 standard drinks per day on average, exceeding the lifetime risk guidelines. 1 in 4 had, on at least one occasion per month, consumed alcohol at a level placing them at a risk of injury. In 2013, around 1 in 6 people aged 12 and older had consumed 11 or more standard drinks in at least one drinking session in the past 12 months. So fairly high levels of drinking there. Regarding drug use, illicit drug use amongst Australians aged 14 and older was 15% in 2014. Now, ladies and gents, I haven't listed these intentionally to scare you, but I still think it is particularly important to raise awareness that the issue is apparent. So now that we are, I suppose, come to this agreement that it is an issue worth exploring, next I'd like to discuss why this could be the case and how this can affect learning and teaching. As you are probably well aware, our students are entering puberty as early as 12 years old now for girls and 14 years of age for boys. Professor Deborah Rickwood, a specialist in child development, explains the vulnerability of this age group in a very insightful recording that can be found on YouTube. Again, I'll have the link there in the show notes if you wish to go and watch it. I recommend you do. Dr. Rickwood explains that they can be experiencing a wide range of physiological adaptations and social pressures such as peer acceptance and belonging, which can in turn contribute to mental health in some cases, and other issues such as anxiety and depression. As a result of this, children can turn to substance abuse, it's not always the case, and a range of other rebellious actions. Professor Rickwood explains that the adolescent brain is still hardwiring, and those implications of substance abuse and poor life choices put our children at risk of lifelong developmental problems. I'd also like to add that not all children experimenting with alcohol and drugs have a mental issue, of course. Children of this age group are very inquisitive and are very open to peer pressure. So 2 questions. What does this mean for our school, to start with? And how are other schools dealing with these issues? I thought before attacking our school at heart, I went out and researched 3 different schools from different settings and different locations, and to see how they're dealing with these issues. So, School A, it's a North Brisbane school in the outer suburbs. It's a state high school. This school has put together a very comprehensive responsible behaviour plan, which is a contract each student is bound by. The responsible behaviour plan covers topics such as standards of positive behaviour, responding to unacceptable behaviour, consequences and penalties. It provides a levelled approach when dealing with differing levels of severity of offences and related legislation, policies and procedures for teachers to follow on a step-by-step basis. Very thorough. They also conveyed that the Queensland curriculum does outline the HP modules, for example, such as health and wellbeing, and does shape the way that they teach at their school. Now, School B, it's a Sydney-based co-ed Catholic college. They are taking a proactive preventative approach backed by the New South Wales curriculum, which aims to educate children on the consequences of their actions from the 5 health areas, or areas of health, being physical, social, mental, cognitive and spiritual. They also have police liaison officers speak with the children about legal implications of underage drinking at parties, etc. This unit is also linked to the driver education unit in that school for obvious reasons. They acknowledge that stopping this behaviour will never actually fully occur, so they approach with the mindset that children will make informed decisions from a position of knowledge. As a reactive countermeasure, students are taught emergency first aid relating to alcohol abuse. School C, it's an inner city Brisbane private Catholic boys' school. I was lucky enough to speak with the principal of the school, and he said the school upholds its responsibilities to teach from the Australian curriculum, which provides middle school children with a solid basis on alcohol and other drugs and safety. The school does have a student behaviour management policy, which encapsulates breaches of the policy, police involvement, and suspension and exclusion procedures. Now, when comparing these three schools, the most obvious common countermeasure is the employment of the respective curricula. All three stated that the curriculum guides them to teach middle school children decision-making strategies with knowledge of drugs and alcohol. School A, the state high school, did have the most comprehensive document on dealing with drugs and alcohol issues. This may be due to the fact that they have experienced a higher volume of incidents than the other schools. I believe School B, the New South Wales school, has implemented the best proactive measures by increasing student knowledge about drugs and alcohol. So, on to the second question, what does this mean for our school? As you're all aware, our school does follow the Australian curriculum and have a policy for dealing with the topical issue. To offer recommendations for our middle school, I would suggest a holistic approach by being proactive in education of both students and you, the parents. A good example is this podcast. Secondly, be backed by policy and have procedures in place. And finally, educate students and parents on the support available within the school and offered by the government when dealing with the troubled children. Before closing up, I thought it would be a great opportunity to make parents aware of what they can do to help. Firstly, research provided by the Australian Institute of Health and Welfare suggests that parental drinking habits are one of the main contributing factors that lead to adolescent drinking, and it's predominantly the father. This is referred to as role model influence. The second largest contributor is access to alcohol and drugs from friends, and alarmingly, secondary supply. Secondary supply, if you didn't know, is the supply of alcohol to minors by parents. So these two examples just highlight the fact that parents can play a big part in the preventative phase, not within the school, but in the home environment. I hope this has raised some awareness for some of our listeners, and I thank you for listening, and I look forward to seeing you around the school. Bye for now.